The first night, I arrived at Hollow Creek. The mist rolled in from the river like a living thing, curling around the street lamps, swallowing the edges of the town in grey smoke. My cab had dropped me at the old Willoughby mansion just before sunset. It stood on a hill at the edge of the woods, half rotted and blackened by years of storms. Every step I took toward the wrought iron gate made my boots creak against the gravel, the sound echoing through the valley like a warning. I had come to investigate the mansion. There were stories, of course, disappearances spanning decades, strange lights in the windows, shadows that moved against the walls when no one was there. Newspapers called it folklore, townsfolk called it cursed, and the police didn't want to talk. But I was a journalist. Curiosity was my currency, and fear was something I could always outrun. Or so I thought. The front door was heavy, and when I pushed it open, the hinges groaned, long and low, as though the house itself were alive and protesting my intrusion. Inside, dust motes danced in the narrow streams of light from my flashlight, and every floorboard underfoot whispered with memory. The air smelled of decay, wet wood, and a faint tong of iron like dry blood. My pulse raced. I told myself to breathe. Slow, calm. The first few hours were uneventful, almost disappointingly mundane. The house felt empty, yet every room seemed to watch me. Portraits of stern ancestors lined the walls, eyes painted with unsettling precision, following every move. I set up my recorder, hoping to capture anything unusual. Then I heard it. A whisper so soft, it was almost beneath hearing, yet unmistakable. Go. Leave. I froze. My heart thudded, loud enough that I thought it would give me away. The voice did not call my name, but the urgency, the sorrow, the warning. It reached inside me, like fingers brushing my nerves. I wanted to run, but my feet would not obey. I was already too far inside. Night came. The mansion shifted with it. Shadows stretched, twisted along the walls, and the floorboards groaned beneath invisible weight. At exactly 2:53 a.m., I awoke to a faint tapping above my bedroom. Tap, tap, tap. Slow, deliberate, like someone pacing, watching. I whispered into my recorder, voice trembling, "Who's there?" No answer came. The tapping continued, then stopped abruptly. Silence, heavier than before, settled in the corners of the room. And then I heard it again, almost in my ear, closer than possible. Turn round. I did not move. My skin crawled. I stayed frozen until the first light of dawn, listening to every creak, every sigh of the old wood, every whisper that brushed against the edges of my consciousness. Days passed. I explored room by room, documenting, taking photographs, writing notes. The mansion offered glimpses of its history. Journals in dusty libraries, letters hidden behind peeling wallpaper, photographs in which people stared not at the camera, but through it, as if aware of some unseen observer. And always, in the edges of every frame, shadows lingered, watching, waiting. On the fourth night, I found the first anomaly. A mirror, not hung on a wall, but freestanding in the corner of the attic. Its frame was blackened, etched with runes I did not recognize, symbols that seemed to shift when I blinked. When I looked into it, my reflection was wrong. My eyes were wider, darker, hollowed at the edges, and behind me, a shape flickered in the shadows. I stumbled back. My hand shook as I recorded everything. Then came the letters. Small yellowed envelopes slid under my door in the dead of night. No sender, no signature. Each contained a single line. You were warned. The creek remembers. Do you see them now? And indeed, I did. They were everywhere. Shadows at the edge of my vision, whispers in corners, soft cries that came from empty rooms. The house was alive, not with people, but with memory, with something older. Hungrier.I began keeping a journal, detailing every strange sight and sound. Every night I wrote what I saw, shapes forming in the walls, doors opening into darkness, floors that seemed to bend, stairs leading to rooms that did not exist during the day. My own reflection in mirrors became an antagonist, moving independently, staring at me with emotionless intent. On the seventh night, I found a hidden stairwell beneath the library rug. Steps spiraled down, narrow, into a damp, earth-scented basement. My flashlight flickered violently. At the bottom, the walls were lined with relics, dolls with fractured faces, journals bound in cracked leather, photographs of people who had vanished from the town. In each photo, there was always a shadow lurking, never quite clear, but unmistakably human. A whisper drifted from the darkness. Looked closer. I did. The shadows in the photos shifted as I watched, rearranging themselves into sequences of events I could not comprehend, but which hinted at a cycle of disappearances spanning decades. And then I understood. The house fed on attention, curiosity, the fear of those who entered. And now I was part of the pattern. Time lost meaning. Each hour stretched into eternity. I stumbled into rooms that twisted impossibly, walls bending, ceilings elongating, and corridors looping back on themselves. The whispers became sentences, pleading, accusing, commanding. You see too much. Do not leave. Remember what you ignored. I confronted the largest mirror in the main hall. Its surface shimmered, rippling like water. My reflection moved before I did, raising a hand to warn me, mouthing words I could not hear. Behind me, the shadow manifested fully. Tall, gaunt, features blurred, but with eyes like empty sockets. It spoke, its voice both close and distant, a chorus of every victim it had consumed. You cannot leave. Panic made me run. Every door led to the same hallway. Windows reflected not the outside, but endless rooms, infinite corridors. I fell to the floor, covering my ears as whispers assaulted my mind, layering, repeating, twisting into unintelligible commands. I screamed into the darkness. A sudden silence. My flashlight fell from my hands, and the shadow approached. It did not move like a human. It glided impossibly fast, pressing down on the air around me, thickening it, making every breath a struggle. I remembered the creek, the river that fed the town, hidden behind the estate. In the daylight, it had been a placid stream. Now it ran black, whispering my name, curling mist around it like spectral fingers. I realized the creek was part of the house, part of the entity, a vein connecting it to the town, to the memories, to the cycle of fear. Desperation gave me clarity. I lifted the mirror, intending to throw it into the creek. My reflection screamed at me, eyes wide, mouth opening unnaturally, as if begging me not to shatter the link. The shadow lunged. My arms moved on. Instinct. Glass shattered, scattering reflections across the floor. The shadow shrieked, a sound that rattled the air, and recoiled. For the first time in days, the house felt empty. The whispers receded, the shadows vanished, leaving only the echoes of my heartbeat and the soft gurgle of the creek outside. But I knew it was not over. Never over. Hollow Creek would always remember. And the mansion waited, patient, hungry, its memories and shadows lying in wait for the next curious soul, the next journalist, The next person who thought fear was something they could outrun. I left at dawn. The cab took me down the winding road, the mansion shrinking behind the mist. I never looked back, but I still hear whispers in my dreams. The shadows linger at the edge of vision. Every reflection, every quiet room feels alive. The house at Hollow Creek is patient, eternal. And somewhere, beneath the floorboards, beneath the river, beneath the mist, it waits, waiting for the next light to enter its halls, waiting for me, waiting for you.